How are you? Welcome again to Conversations on Three Ancient Cuisines, those three old world cuisines that most influenced the Western eating habits: China, Greece, and Rome. Now, if you have someone in your family that has a squeamish stomach or thinks that there are certain things that shouldn't be eaten, nail their feet to the floor, because I've gone to a lot of work today, and I think I'm a little nervous. I'll be honest with you, because I want you to stay and watch. At least hear me out, because today we're going to talk about innards, those organs in the animal that you do not see sliced in the normal meat case, you see. We don't use to make hamburger out of them at all. Wonderful things. Since prehistoric times, in all three cultures, China, Greece, and Rome, innards were highly prized. Probably the Chinese were those that most appreciated innards, but remember that prehistoric man used to take the stomach of an animal, of a lamb or a goat or something, you see, the tripe or the stomach itself, and it was almost fireproof because it was so thick and wet, so he could stuff it with food, tie a string around it, and hang it over a fire. One of the first cooking pots we ever had was the stomach of an animal. So we're talking ancient cooking things here. Tripe, the stomach lining. It's really very delicious. Americans don't eat much of this sort of thing because we think it's a sign of poverty. But in the old days, in ancient China, it was not a sign of poverty at all. The aristocracy ate these things. And in ancient Greece, everyone loved innards. The liver and the kidney and the stomach lining of the lamb were very, very popular since ancient times, still are. In ancient Rome, however, this is an interesting bit of history. In ancient Rome, the peasants could only afford to buy innards, and the aristocracy ate all of the rest of the animal. Now you have to ask a question. Well, if the aristocracy ate the whole animal and the peasants got only the innards, there was an awful lot of animal to be eaten? No, the peasants had very little meat. And in ancient Rome, it was primarily innards. To this day, you can still eat very, very well in Rome, just on innards. Down in the ghettos of old Rome, you'll find wonderful, wonderful food. The other thing I should probably tell you about, though I hesitate to do this, in ancient Roman times, the aristocracy didn't eat normal innards. They didn't eat tripe and liver and that sort of thing. They would do things like this. They were bored. Frankly, they were bored. They would eat sautéed flamingo brains with eggs. Now, how many flamingos would you have to kill? You know, their heads this big around. How many flamingos would you have to kill in order to get enough brains to have a meal? They were bored. I thought it was disgusting. But in our time, these are meats that we should enjoy. Now, I have tasted innards in all three of our cultures, in China, Greece, and Rome. When you shop in Hong Kong, and this is a marvelous market, when you shop in Hong Kong, you can see them haul the pig right into town, right into the market, and the innards are displayed right at the doorway so that you know what kind of fresh innards he has. They don't have a lot of refrigeration there. Everything is sold fresh. This is pork stomach. And when you go to Athens, this is the great market on Athenea Street. You buy pork stomach, or you can buy lamb stomach, and these are lamb intestines sold along with the liver and the lung in order to make kokoretsi. This is a wonderful restaurant off Amunia Square. Chicken, pork, where's the kokoretsi? Keep going, there it is. It's a long tubular affair made of kidney, spleen, lungs, liver, and then it's all wrapped with the intestine of the lamb, braised with olive oil and garlic, and then it's barbecued. Oh, it's good. Romans loved tripe, too. I think the best tripe I've ever had in my life was in Rome. Matter of fact, at a place called La Carbonara Restaurant. Here, Michela, our friend, is tasting tripe with, oh, it's so good. There's a La Carbonara Restaurant. So I offered her some. Michela, please have some of my tripe. Everybody loves it. Well, here's one Roman that doesn't love it. We did go to dinner, however, at Osteria Edmundo. This is an old osteria up in the hills of Rome. Don't expect fancy service here. Well, the service is good, but the owner, this is Edmundo, slices the bread on his sweater, you see, and he serves fabulous food. He makes a dish that's very rare in Rome. It is made of baby lamb intestines. Well, those of you from the South know what chitlins are. Same thing, but baby lamb intestines cooked with pasta, rigatoni. I'd never tasted it, and he's made a batch for me now. This is the first time. Baby lamb intestines in tomato sauce with rigatoni. I could not believe it. Delicious. It's delicious. And Roberto, that's Michela's husband, he's not going to turn something like that down. Do you want some, Roberto? Absolutely, he said. So we continued our evening and had a wonderful time eating delicious innards. Now, please, I know now and then you have a bit of liver, but I'm talking really good things here. I mean, let me show you the different kinds I have here. This is lamb liver. It's just beautiful stuff. Whoops, get the lemon out of there. Piece of lamb liver. These are lamb hearts, and they're cut up for a marvelous lamb soup. And, of course, lamb kidneys. These are delicious, sautéed with a little garlic oil and olive oil. Oh, they're good. This is the oxtail. Now, I don't know if I should call a tail an innard, because it's not an innard, it's an outward. but nevertheless, these are considered innards, and they're popular in all three of our ancient cultures. Over here, I have pig tripe, or pig stomach. When you buy this, it'll be called hog maws. You have to be careful to be sure and pull all of the fat out of this before you blanch it, you see. And then what you want to do is cut it up into strips, as I've done here. And then we cook it. I have several dishes for you. Beef tripe, isn't this interesting? This is called honeycomb tripe. You can see why. It looks like honeycomb, doesn't it? You blanch this first for just a minute or so, then cut it up into strips like this, and then cook it. I have several recipes for you. And of course, you know tongue. If you don't like a good tongue sandwich, oh, you've never been to the Stars Deli in New York City and had tongue. Oh, it's so good. And these are lamb tongues, which are used today in an Easter soup from Greece. I've got to get started right away. We're not going to make all of this. We're not going to make it all anyhow, but I want you to see everything. Innards, wonderful things from the old world. Is that squeamish member of your family still sitting there? You tell him to sit right down, because he can learn something. It's very, very important. All right, the first dish I have for you today is lewd beef tongue from China. What I've done is to simmer the beef in a lewing sauce made of soy sauce, a little broth, some ginger. You've seen me do this. I better get here it is. Here's our cleaver. And I've already peeled it. You boil it first and then peel it. Tongue is very easy to peel if you boil it for about 2 hours first in water with a little bay leaf. Let me put this down on the counter here. Anyway, and I'll slice it up for you. And it is served there, just like this. Nice thin slices. Oh, this is good. Has a little bit of ginger and a little bit of remember I talked to you about something called star anise? I couldn't even remember the name. Delicious. So it has a very light licorice flavor. This is our first innard today, which is a beautiful tongue from China. Now, believe me, that's popular, and in China, innards are expensive because they're so popular. That's what happens. You know, the law of supply and demand is an important thing. Very important thing. All right, the second one I have for you. Oh, this is good. This is good. I have some lewd pork tripe, and it's a very interesting dish. You put it in the same sauce and just cook the devil out of it. It takes 3 hours, I think, before you're going to have something that's really acceptable. Let's take a look at it. Lewd pork tripe. Lewd means a master sauce made of soy, broth, little wine, some ginger, some garlic. You stir that up, some sugar. There, you see? No, it's just, oh, that's good. It's much more delicate and wonderful than you think. I have another tripe, another pork tripe. The Chinese love pork. Oh, piggies all over the place. And this one's in a steamer. I did the same thing, cooking the tripe, but in this case, I cooked it in hot sauce with a little black bean and then steamed it to death. This has been in here for hours. About 3 hours after I cooked it. There, cooked it first of all. See, you have to cook tripe twice. You understand this? That's a very good dish. In the dim sum houses, you order this and they just take it out of the steamers right at your table. And it's a little hot. It's very, very flavorful. Why did the ancient peoples enjoy innards so much? Because they had flavor. Can you imagine how boring ancient cooking used to be? You didn't even have salt and pepper. Nothing. And you would cook a piece of meat or you would boil a piece of meat, big deal. But an innard, a piece of liver or a piece of the stomach of an animal, you see, or a kidney, had very bright flavors. So they were the most prized part of the animal since ancient times, and you didn't know that. So stop squirming around because they're wonderful things. All right, one more. I took some oxtails and browned them. Now, you remember the oxtail. You simply brown them in a bit of oil till they're very brown, and then I simmered them with a lewing sauce, Chinese style, a luing sauce to which I'd added some onions, some fried onions, yellow onions, and a great deal of black bean, daoshi. I'm going to put this out for you right now. So good. There we are. Let me turn that over with a spoon because these are so tender and so rich. Oh, there's a lot of fat in this pot too, but you just take them out of the sauce, you see, and the fat stays behind. What I'm trying to do is get these to glisten because I've had them in the oven for, I don't know, I suppose they've been in a couple of hours. It takes about 2 hours to cook these properly in a good sauce. If you don't have a fancy pot like this, don't feel bad. Just use your regular casserole. It'll be quite all right, I assure you. All right, now, let me go on to another dish, this time from Rome. And in ancient Rome, you could buy tripe, unless, of course, you're an aristocrat, you wouldn't eat it, and you would do this. Well, no, actually, I'm lying. This dish is only about 500 years old. You're going to figure out why. Here's the question of the day. Which food product am I going to put into this pot that will cause you to turn to your friend on the Davino or wherever you're sitting and yell, that's it. That's why it's a new dish. 500 years. Otherwise, it's an old dish. Got it? All right. First of all, we've blanched our tripe. We've cooked it a bit. Here we are. And then cut it up. Blanching it by just a few, just a few minutes or so. And then put it in cold water and cut it up into strips like this, you see. That's it. This is beef tripe, honeycomb tripe. Now, in my pan, I have placed a large yellow onion and a bit of pork, about half a pound of chopped pork, and some garlic, and of course, 6 or 7 tablespoons of olive oil. Now into that, have you got the ingredients yet? No, none of these. These were all common in the ancient world. Then we'll add the tripe. All right, now let me get my recipe here and try and keep up with you. All right, now, then we add 1 cup of red wine. Is that the ingredient? No, that's been used since ancient times. So it's not the red wine. And then we add a bit of beef stock. Well, probably not beef soup, but in ancient Rome, they would use beef stock. So that's not it. 2 cups of beef stock, preferably which you've made by yourself, but you have to buy some in the can, fine. But don't use bouillon cubes. And nothing but salt. Blech. Make your own, please, if you can. The peel of 1/4 of a lemon. Here it is, you see. 1/4 of a lemon peel. Just cut up into a few pieces. That goes in the pot. Lemons were common in the ancient world. They were not popular for cooking probably until about 500 AD. But we know they were around. But that isn't the ingredient, is it? No, they were around. And now we're going to add 1/4 of a cup of parsley chopped. Oh, parsley was common in the ancient world. And some salt and pepper. Well, pepper was common and salt was common. A little bit of salt and pepper. Oh, that's too much. There we go. A little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. I'm going through this whole thing with you because this dish is so delicious. All right, what's going to do it? We're coming home here. And here's the last ingredient. And of course, this is what's going to, you should have caught this because I'm now going to add 2 cups of Italian tomato sauce, or just good. Why would that not have been around at Roman times? Well, of course not. Because the tomato is American and did not show up in Europe until during the 1500s. There's the dish. Now, cook that down. Cook it for hours. Cook it for 3 or 4 hours until it's very, very tender. I have one all ready for you, and then I'll show you whoops, I just splat. Be careful with this. See what I've done? Let me show you. I splashed some broth here into a pan of hot oil over here. Be very careful that when you're working in the kitchen, you be mindful of the fact that one little drop of water in a wok or a pan full of hot fat can cause an explosion. That is to say, the little drop turns to steam right away, and it goes poof, and you have fat everywhere. You look like that old movie, what was it called? The fellow who had the wax museum, do you remember? Murders in the Rue Morgue, is that it? Blech. Don't do it. He fell into fat, remember? Or a fire or something. Blech. I'm getting gross today. I have one in the, where did I put it? In the oven? The tripe that I've already cooked for you, yes. Yes, it's in the oven. Here it is. Now, in order to finish this off, I'm simply going to add to the pot. Let me get rid of this first one. We're done with that. There we are. I'm going to add to the dish. Look at that now, you see? It's cooked for a long time, and it's very beautiful, and it's very, very rich. See that? Oh, that's good. Absolutely beautiful stuff. Turn off my oven here. We're going to overcook these if I'm not careful. We must now add to the pot 1 cup of cream. And yes, that was not uncommon in ancient times, but the tomato certainly was. 1 cup of cream and about, a good handful, half a cup or so, of good freshly grated Parmesan or Romano cheese. And in the ancient world, they did have lots of cheeses. Cheese was very popular. Not the varieties that we have now, but they did a lot better than you think. There we are. Let me put that one out for you. Why don't I just dish up a bowl of that, huh? It's wonderful stuff. There we are. Tripe alla Romano. This is not very far from a recipe that I enjoyed at La Carbonara restaurant. Oh, there are other places where you can find it. I bet I've had tripe in 15 places in Italy. The most famous tripe is Florentina, and it's richer with tomato sauce. They would not use cream, but the Romans would put cream in theirs. There we go. All right, now, the next dish is again, one of my great favorites. I go round and round with you. This one is oxtail Roman style. Now, you do basically the same thing that we did with the tripe. Simply cook the Roman oxtails ahead of time. Brown them, you see, like this. Throw them in a pot and add wine. Here they are. Add wine, a bit of tomato sauce, and let them simmer until they're tender. And it'll take about 2.5 hours. Let me smell this. Oh, Edmundo does it this way. In ancient times, the Jews in Rome would buy meats and brown them and brown them and brown them and brown them, and then cook them in a light sauce. Of course, this dish is, while it is Roman and it is popular in the Jewish ghetto in Rome, which is still there, you must go, it's only 500 years old because it has tomato in it, you see. Very simple seasoning. Very delicious. There. All right. What's next? Another thing that my friend Edmundo does at his restaurant called Osteria, or, eating place, Osteria Edmundo, is to prepare frito misto, which means assorted deep-fried stuff. How's my Italian today? You doing all right? So what I'm going to do is to prepare a couple of items for you and throw them in the fat. Here I have a couple of pieces of zucchini. This is what he does. A couple slices of fresh artichoke. A couple slices of here, let me show you this. This is the lamb cutlet, but it's too thick. See, it's too thick? So give it a wonk. This is a Greek product, but the Romans have one something like that. Give it a wonk. There. Now it'll be much thinner and nicer. So put a couple of those in the batter. There we are. And finally, a bit of brain. Now the brain, this is lamb brain, and very, very delicate and very delicious. And deep fried, it is just heavenly. Oh, stop it. If you haven't tried it, don't knock it. Remember the motto, parts is parts. And you mustn't reject part of an animal just because you haven't tasted it. That's silly. It really is silly. And after all, you're willing to eat up sausages and, well, we won't even talk about what goes into sausages. I'd like to know what's going on with my meal. I have the oil, my deep frying oil, at about 400 degrees, 385 to 400. You want to cook these things in a hurry. You don't want to overcook brain. I would normally cook these separately. I'm just doing this for your sake here, because you don't want to cook the artichoke at the same time the brain. The brain's very delicate. There, I'll let that go. Shall I give you the batter recipe? I got this from Edmundo. But of course, being a good Italian, he couldn't give me any amounts. But this is what he does. Edmundo. Here it is. Beat up 3 eggs. And this really works. It's very good batter. 3 eggs. Add 1 cup of water to the beaten eggs. Then stir in 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 cup of flour, and a teaspoon of salt. And you have it. That's all there is to it. Look at how that puffs up, but it's very thin and delicate. Really very good. I think I'm ready. I have some that I prepared for you ahead of time, so let me get them out of the oven. And come here, you. Here we are. We'll do an arrangement here on a platter very, very quickly as they come out. Of these 4 items, and if you order frito misto at Edmundo's, what they serve you are a bit of brain, lamb brain, very fresh and very delicate, highly prized in Rome, highly prized. Some artichoke pieces. Aren't they beautiful? Look at the size of that one. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh, I'm going to eat that right now. And then some zucchini. Here it is. And the zucchini can go over on this side. And then the little cutlet, the lamb cutlet, which I have deboned, would be deep fried. And all of these things would come on one platter as a big assortment. Frito misto. At a wonderful place called Edmundo's. I don't know how you're going to explain it to a cabbie if you decide to go there, but it's worth the try. Have your hotel man look it up, and you could go to Rome very inexpensively these days. I really think you must go. Have him look it up and go up there, and for heaven's sakes, don't tell Edmundo that I sent you, because I think he would rather wait on the Romans. You know, people have been going there for 30 years. It's a wonderful old place. It looks 30 years old, too, let me tell you. It's great fun. All right. Let's see, what else do we have from Rome? I think there's another one here somewhere. Do we? Oh, yes. Oh, this is great. I've got so many things to show you. This dish is another tongue dish, and it goes back to ancient times in Rome, and a very delicious thing. It's almost a salad made of tongue. And what you do, you get a frying pan here and get some heat on it. You dissolve in a frying pan in 3 tablespoons of white wine vinegar. Where did I put it? It must be on the tray back here, huh? Here it is. 3 tablespoons of white wine vinegar, 3.5, something like that. That's about right. That's enough. And we want to add some sugar because we're making a sweet and sour sauce for a dish that goes back to the time of the Roman Empire. So I have, let's see, where's my list? Here it is. 3 tablespoons of white wine vinegar, 3.5 tablespoons of sugar. Just dissolve that. And while that's warming and dissolving, I'll get the rest of the dish ready for us. I have already cooked the tongue. I boiled it for about 2 hours in water to cover, along with a bay leaf or 2, a bit of onion, and some peppercorns. That's it. Boil it for 2 hours. When it's finished, you know, a tongue is very easy to peel if you've cooked it long enough. You can see this one is all ready to go. You just grab the peel and just start pulling it off. This one is too cold. It's been sitting here on my counter. Well, it's not going to work for you, gang, but I promise it'll work for you if the tongue is still warm when you try and peel it. Once it gets cold, stop that. Once it gets cold, the peel won't come off as easily. Yours will work. I've sliced up the tongue very easily, very carefully, put it on a platter. Now, I want to put into my sauce. There, that's dissolved enough. You see? Sweet and sour? Here we go. I'm going to put into my sauce the juice of 2 lemons. The juice of 2 lemons, along with my white wine vinegar and a bit of sugar. This goes way, way back in Rome. Sweet and sour. You didn't know the Romans invented that? Well, they did. And we also want a bit of red pepper flakes. Just a smidgen. Oh, about 1/4 of a teaspoon of dried red pepper flakes. And a handful of white raisins. Come on out of there, you. There we go. I'm just going to put those in the dish and let them soak for a bit. And then we need to add, let's see, what else have I forgotten? Oh, I need some garlic. Some crushed garlic would go into this. I don't have time to crush it, so I'm going to use some finely chopped garlic. Just about 3 cloves. Let that sit for a bit, and you have a wonderful, wonderful dressing. Now, I'm going to pour this over. What makes it Roman? Well, in the old days, the Romans were very, very fond of dried fruits, and here's the other thing coming up now, of dried fruits and pine nuts. So we add the dressing onto our cold tongue, put some pine nuts on, a little parsley for a garnish, and my friend that taught me this dish, Joe Batoya from Rome, said that you must let it sit overnight. before it's really going to be delicious. All right. One more in the oven, because we're going to close with the most involved organ dish I've ever seen in my life. And of course it comes from Greece, because the Greeks, on Easter Eve, they have been fasting. The Greeks have been fasting for the whole week of Easter, Holy Week, you see. But on Easter Eve at midnight, on Saturday night, when the priest says, "Behold, the Lord is risen, Christos anethis," everybody cheers, runs home, and eats a soup made out of all of the innards of the animal. On the highest, most holy night of the year, in Greece, you have innard soup. So don't knock innards anymore. Till I see you again, this is the Frugal Gourmet. I bid you peace. Bye-bye.